Hello everyone. So big data technology and associated services market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 26% from 2018 to 2025. The annual spending is projected to reach $48.6 billion in 2019. Hadoop, which has become almost synonymous with big data, is predicted to grow at 50.2% in CAGR. Key players like Cloudera, Cotton Workers, Hadoop, Amazon Web Services, LLCC, Mapper Technologies, Platform Computing. In today's webinar, we will cover a range of topics around big data and Hadoop, including the master-slave architecture, Hadoop core components, MapReduce program, and Hadoop ecosystems. Before we begin, let me introduce the instructor for today's session, Mona. She has 12 plus years of experience in IT industry, 8 years of experience on big data system, Hadoop, Spark, Kafka, big data, etc. Thank you. Now hand over this call to Mona.
Yeah. Very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Aishwarya. Thanks. Very good afternoon, everyone. This is Bhuvana here. I've been working as a corporate trainer as some 12 years, and I have experience 4 years of experience in big data and Hadoop. Okay. So, very good afternoon to everyone. Today we'll be talking about what exactly is big data and the introduction to big data. What are the big data domains you have? Big data job trends, how do you find them? And the big data career path. And also we'll be looking into the learning path and big data certification courses, right? So if you have any query, you can just give me a chat message. So I'll be available and I'll be clearing your doubts through the chat. Is that clear? You can just give me a chat message by just typing clear so that I can start off, right? And if you have any query, you can give me a chat message. Fine. So we'll be starting with big data. What I suggest you is, we can have a very good interactive session kind of a thing also. So before we go ahead with the big data, what do you mean by the term called big data? What do you understand with the term called big data? Today everybody are talking about the big data. They talk about Hadoop and everything, right? So what do you think of this? What do you think what exactly the big data is all about? You have any information? You can give me a chat message. If you don't have any idea, I'll give you the information. So the first thing is we'll be learning about what exactly is the big data, right? So previously, what is exactly a data is all about. The data is what? The data is the collection of all the information, right? Let's say if you go for a bank, or very simple thing, you take up a bank. So what does a bank consist of? The bank has an information about the customers, the client, whoever they are connecting to the bank, their account numbers, what kind of accounts they are going to manage, what kind of an account they have, whether they have a savings account, current account, joint account, and when did they open the account, and are they going for any kind of interest, or how many years they wanted to fund to the bank. All this information we have, right? So let's say I'll take an example of an ICICI bank, right? So when you look at this particular ICICI bank, this has been available throughout India, isn't it? So this particular bank is available throughout India, and we'll be accessing the information. Let's say if I wanted to deposit my amount in Hyderabad and my account is available in Delhi, so as well I can do it, right? So what is it I'm trying to do? I'm trying to manage all this particular my data that is through a computer. So for that, what we used to do, we used to write a lot of programs to communicate from one place to the other place, and we are able to do the transactions also. So this is the data. Whatever the data we were managing till 20th century was what? It was only a data which was just a relational database kind of a thing. That is, you have some kind of a data available in a structured format. We have a data which is in the form of a structured format. That is, you have your name, your account number, what kind of account you have, how much amount you have deposited, and what are the transactions you will be doing, all this. So whenever you have the structured data, we were writing some programs in Java, Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, all this, right? So now we are from 21st century onwards, we were not only collecting this particular data, which is in a format of structure, but also due to the introduction, because we have a lot of use of this particular internet through our tabs, mobiles, and all this particular advanced devices, we were able to gather the information apart from the structured data. So this data, whatever we were collecting in the form of, say, the audios, videos, images, and everything, we call them as what? Unstructured data. We call them as unstructured data. And we used to process some kilobytes of data every day. I mean, let's say we'll take up previously I gave you about ICICI Bank, right? So when I was giving you an example of an ICICI Bank, I told you every day so many transactions have been done in Hyderabad. Let's say there are from morning 9 to afternoon 1 o'clock, I've processed around 20 lakh transactions in Hyderabad. Okay. So the data, whatever we were collecting, it was in the form of what? It was in the form of megabytes, kilobytes, and all that information. But now, after the internet has come into our normal structure, what we are trying to do, we are trying to manage these transactions through via internet. That is, we are available with online transactions, isn't it? So what are we trying to do? The transactions, we were just limited to 20 lakh transactions. Now have been increased to 40 lakh transactions, because everybody need not go to a bank, he need not create a draft or create a check and withdraw the amount or transfer the data, transfer the amount for a next friend or any other account. What is he trying to do? He is trying to process the same thing through a computer with the access of internet. He is able to collect the data to whom he wanted to send the amount and everything. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to use this particular computation of this particular different data, whatever we are able to get it, and we are able to process this. We are able to process this particular data and give it back in the within a fraction of seconds. So we are able to we are able to save our time, our energy, and everything, isn't it? So we are able to maintain this. For this to maintain, what we require is what? We need to require an internet connection. So we are able to get this particular through internet. We are able to transfer the data. We are able to send the data, send the amount not only to one particular bank. We can send the amount to different banks also, like SBI, like other ICICI banks and everything. Private and nationalized banks also we are able to send it, and also the government banks, isn't it? So our job has become more easy, and we are trying to connect through this internet to different devices. So that what do we call that? We call it as Internet of Things, right? So we are trying to connect ourselves through a particular machine and make our job in an easier manner. As a customer, we are doing it. Now just think about a business person who knows the advantage of internet in such a way, so even he thinks, a business person, he wanted to use the same data to increase his productivity in the business, right? When he wanted to increase the productivity of that particular business, he need what? He need to have the information about the customers and the taste of that particular customers. What kind of shopping they would do, what kind of materials they are searching for, what kind of laptops they are searching for, what kind of mobiles they are searching for, this kind of information they wanted, right? So what happened in 21st century, after this internet has become so much easy and a part of our life, what are we trying to do? Every day we go into the Facebook, we go to Instagram, we give likes, dislikes, we go to Flipkart, we go to everything, and we Amazon, and we try to search the things whatever we like, right? So what is the background is happening is, whatever as a customer, whatever the details you are collecting and placing on the internet are being backend stored as some data. Let's assume Bhuvana. Bhuvana is what is it? She is a customer to Amazon, right? So what I'm trying to do is, today I'm very much interested in buying this particular laptop, okay, which is of good capacity. I wanted to have around 120 GB memory, and that's it. I'm just giving an example. I wanted to have latest. I don't want to have a laptop just like previous metal. I just wanted to have it laptop which looks like a tablet also, and which should have a processing speed should be increased, everything. So I'll be searching for such kind of a product on the Amazon. So what would happen is, the Amazon would be looking into the pages whatever I am referring to. Okay, it's going to store in the form of a JavaScript object nature, that is JSON files. So it will be storing that particular pages, and it has information about under my account. So Bhuvana has an account in Amazon, and it knows it is going to store what kind of laptops was searched in previously. So what is happening for each and every customer, the Amazon is going to store such kind of a data, and it is going to store it in particular database. So what is an advantage to this particular business analysts? What do they do? They collect the information about the customers, their taste, and accordingly they sell that particular product onto the through internet. So for that, what do we require? We require data. We require data. That is where the big data has come into the picture. So from starting from 21st century, you should be able to see that everybody, from a particular kid, I mean a 5-year kid to a 70 years guy, they will be able to work on, they're working on internet to get their information, or to grab the information, or things they want, or whatever they wanted to have, or buy a particular thing. They're using internet as a medium. Right? So when you're trying to do this, get the information through the medium of internet, they are able to give all the information about themselves unknowingly also, and knowingly also, through the websites. And that is becoming a data to the data analyst. That's becoming a data for the data analyst. And why am I saying that as a big data? Because we are not just restricted to one particular person in the world. We are restricted to, I mean, so many people are coming and connecting to these particular websites and everything, and they are using the data, not only a structured based data, we are not only using the structured base, but we are following the data which is in the form of unstructured format. That is, when I talk about unstructured, it is a collection of images, videos, animations, and everything. It's not in the format of only name, the account ID, what is the address, PIN code, email ID. No, that is not in the form of columns and rows. Now the data is being changed. The data is in the form of whatever the, let's say if I wanted to have a laptop, I'm going to identify that particular image on Amazon. I'm going to select that, place it into my cart, and it also has the value of it, and also I'll give you the reference, and also I'll give some kind of a remark that. Then I'll give some comment also. I'm very happy with the product and everything. So what is I'm trying to do? This is not in the format of a structured format. It is in the format of unstructured, wherein which I have an image of a laptop, I have the rate of that particular laptop, I have a comment on it, the bill date, what is the amount, how did I pay the amount, through cash or through a credit card, what are my credit card details, when did it get delivered, all this information will be available, right? So the data, whatever we're trying to get it from the internet via through these particular websites, that we are going to call it as a big data. The collection of structured and unstructured data, that we are going to call it as big data. Is this clear? Can you please give me a chat message once I can continue? Is this clear? Understood the introduction to the big data? You have any doubts? You want me to continue? I mean, I think it should be continued. You have not given me any message, right? Okay, not a problem. So when we just go into this, the big data one, sound issue. Oh, you're not able to listen me? Not audible. Okay. Prashant, can you just check with this? Yeah, please check. The one of the guests is not unable to listen. It's not audible actually. Yeah, we'll come back. Once it has been cleared. Is this cleared? I'm sorry. It could be a net issue. It could be a net issue. Please check with your network connections. Okay. So, did you follow the introduction to big data? Okay. Thank you. Fine. Right. So now we'll acquire. Looking into these particular slides, we move on to each and every slide, and we'll understand each and every topic. Right? Okay. Thanks for the reply. Yeah. So once we talk about this particular big data, I just explained you, isn't it? So here we can just see a very funny kind of a slide over here. See, look at here. We are following, when you're following a traditional system, we are not able to reach out the things. So the big data is a term for the collection of data sets so large and complex that it becomes difficult to process using on-hand database management tools. That is what the management tools we used to do it with Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB and all this, right? So database management tools are traditional data processing applications. So why are we not able to process the data? Because just now I told you, right? Every second we are generating some petabytes of information. Within a minute, we are generating so much of data through internet which is we are unable to process when we take up the traditional data processing applications. Okay, so that is where there is so 23 exabytes of information was recorded and replicated in 2002, and we now record and transfer that information every 7 days, within every 7 days. So I think you have understood how speed we need to work whenever we wanted to process this particular big data. So when you have this particular big data, how do you see, what is the solution for this big data? How do you handle it, right? How do you handle it? That we are going to learn it in the coming up slides. Okay. Now, where are we exactly using this particular big data? So just now I told you about it has become one of our social necessity now. So every moment in our daily life, we are knowingly or unknowingly we are using the data, right? So where exactly this data is being used? So it is in big data domains. The big data domains are what? The big data domains are web and e-tailing, telecommunication. We'll be using these big data applications in healthcare, finance and banking, and also in retail, in the retail market, right? So we'll go into the detail of each and every topic. Okay. So when we come to this web and e-tailing, so where are we using? When you go to the websites of eBay and also through Google, you will be searching all the information through Google, and you will be targeting in the Facebook, right? And also you'll be using infrastructure advertising area. You'll be using, and you will be able to identify abuse, and click and fraud detection can also be done, wherein which we'll be using this web and e-tailing. Okay, so we are using in web and e-tailing also. And also one of the other one is what? According to the slide we are using the big data in telecommunications. So whenever you wanted to know about the customer information, and when you have some customer churn prevention, and there is something called any network performance issues with them, or when you want to analyze the failures of this particular data telecommunications, and how do you record the data, and how do you identify the call details, this is also where the big data come into the picture. So not only just one domain. See, when whatever in our lifestyle, wherever we go regarding the health, the telecommunication, the retail market, or web shopping, hospitals, or wherever we go, even in today, when you go for a law, I mean, when you really go for a judgment or something, even there we are using this particular big data. Okay. So you have, I mean, you go ahead with government. Nowadays, I think you know this. The visa processing, they have given it in much simpler way. So once you have a passport, previously we used to, I mean, when you talk about 4 to 5 years back, you need to supposed to go and stand in a line for getting a passport or a visa and all that, right? So for getting a passport itself, we used to collect the application, fill in the application, sit there for number of hours, and we used to get the passport or Aadhaar card. But now it's not required. Whenever you wanted to have the Aadhaar cards or the pass, whatever the government related things, identifications like driving license or whatever, you will be able to get it within a half an hour to 1 hour, maximum half an hour to 1 hour of time. Okay, we are able to save the thing, save the time, as well as we are able to identify, and these government Aadhaar things will also be useful whenever you wanted to identify the fraud detection and the cyber security also, isn't it? And whenever you wanted to, and the best thing is what I forgot to tell you, the political campaigns, right? So it is more and more useful to these political leaders when they wanted to know about what is the idea behind, I mean, what is the analysis before they go for any voting purpose or what. So this is much useful for the political leaders. They wanted to know the trend, how these people are thinking, how the citizens of India are thinking, in which area, what is the party which will be coming out, how are they talking about, all this information they are able to collect it, because we will be using all Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp applications and everything, right? So they're collecting the data. So before the results come itself, they are analyzing the data, and then and there they're able to get into these political campaigns also, right? So this is another domain of using the big data. Okay, and then we have banks and financial services. I just gave you an example about the banking and the financial services, right? So whenever you wanted to have a fraud detection, right? So whenever you're somebody is trying to put together, now we are able to generate the OTP, and we say them, you have to give the authorized person will have this OTP, and then only he has to the information, like what is the information generally asked? They ask you about the date of birth, mother's name and everything, which is a very, very private information about the particular customer, right? So this is how we are able to manage our data, okay? And credit scoring analysis and modeling. The risk, we make sure that whatever the applications will be developing for the bank applications, we make sure it is of to avoid this particular risks, okay? And in retail, you know anyhow, in retail marketing, everything is, we wanted to know about the customers itself. So it is where we'll be using a lot of data regarding the customers, okay? So the point of sales, how the sales are happening, the transaction analysis and sentiment analysis, okay? So now, when you have so much of advantage of using this big data and developing so many applications, how do you feel that there will be job prints, right? So how do you feel that what are the biggest opportunities you will be finding it through big data? So you have lot of trends coming up with big data, because I tell you, this is the biggest change, the transition in IT because of this big data only. Because when you talk about this particular big data, what is happening is big data is not just limited to the application or processing of the data, okay? Not only petabytes of data, zettabytes of data through Hadoop ecosystem, not only that. What are we trying to do is, by 2020, we expect that this big data, the data will also be used in IoTs, machine learnings, artificial intelligences, and also the cloud computing technologies. Everywhere this data will be used. This data will be used. And as a person, we should be able to know how do you programmatically develop an application with this, how do you handle this particular big data, how do you process this particular big data, and how do you use this particular data in artificial intelligence, machine learning, programming, and also on Internet of Things. Okay, so that is the goal of the big data right now. All the technology giants are into this the market, and they are using very seriously with this, the data which is available. Okay, so by 2020 you have lot of requirement for big data developers, architects and analytics. Okay, we can just go through the graphs. Okay, so when you look into this particular big data job trends, it is a huge increase. Okay, so everybody, when you look into this October 2018 to February 2009, there is a huge there are many requirements we will be getting, because once you are done with as a developer, you will be recruited as a developer analytics. The analysis will be more. Okay, so the big data architect has lot of opportunities. Okay, and also the big data developer will also have lot of opportunities. So this is where. So when you just look into this particular bar graph, you can just analysis. So the data analytics engineer has a huge, and data architect, the data scientist and the big data architect and the Hadoop developer consultant. So when you talk about big data, the process in which, what is an Hadoop? Hadoop is the solution to handle this particular big data. So when you talk about big data is to handle this particular big data, Hadoop is being developed. So when you talk about Hadoop, you will become a solution finder to this big data, and you become a Hadoop developer consultant, right? So you have huge requirement as a job, and the salary will also be increased. When you just look into this average salaries, you can just go through this particular slide. So you have so much opportunities as a data analyst, engineers, big data developers, Hadoop administrators. You can find that. So once you are into a level of architect, you have more salary when you compare to the developer. Of course, you have not less salary also, but comparatively to the developer to the architect level, you have a lot of opportunities and also the hike in the salaries. Okay, so now, so the careers, how do you find the careers? What kind of a career you can set up once you learn big data and Hadoop? So when I'm talking about this, are you not interested to know how does this particular data can be captured? How do you capture this? How do this internet, Flipkart people, Amazon people, and also so when you talk about the NASA is also using the big data, because they collect a lot of information through the scientists. Okay, so whatever the pictorial data, whatever they are getting it, they are also analyzing this particular data. So even in the scientific region, also they are using this particular big data. Okay, so when you talk about these careers in the big data and Hadoop, you have what are the careers you are available. Okay, let's assume I've learned my big data, I've done my course in big data. So what would be my future? How do I set up my future? So you have different options available in careers. Like you have a big data developer, and you can work as a big data architect, you can work as a Hadoop administrator, you can work as a data analyst and also data scientist. Okay, so these are the different options depending upon your experience, okay, your background and your and the stream on which you are working on, the domain on which you are working on. Depending upon that, you can select the career in the big data. Okay, so the person, I'll take an example of a big data developer. So when you wanted to talk about big data developer, so there you might have a question. So I'm not good at Java. I'm not good at Java, but I know a little bit SQL commands and PLSQL commands. So will I be able to suit for this job? Of course, you can, because whatever the programming will be doing with Hadoop is not in the form of a Java programming, because here we will be working with NoSQL, a concept called NoSQL. Okay, so what are we doing with NoSQL? NoSQL in the sense means not only SQL. What is the meaning of not only SQL? Because we'll be working with structured and unstructured, that we call it as NoSQL. Okay, so you have to work with as little RDBMS concept. You know how do you write a programming with the OOPS concepts, which are available with OOPS concepts and all this. Then you can really become a big data developer. Okay, so these are the different career opportunities you have. And then we'll just look into this. the careers in big data. And so when you look into the big data architect, what do you do in big data architect as a person? So you will be designing, implementing and integrate the big data solutions within the IT enterprise. Okay. And when you look into the data scientist, when you look into the data science, what will be your role? So you have to analyze and interpret complex digital data in order to assess the business in its decision making. So you should be, by this now, you should be able to identify what will be your role. Okay, depending upon your experience and everything, you can identify where you will be better suited, whether you wanted to become a big data architect or a developer or a data scientist or a Hadoop admin. Any questions here? You can give me a chat message. Okay, so administrators and managers manages the Hadoop clusters. You have something like cluster management in big data Hadoop programming. Okay, so and all other resources in the entire Hadoop. So you have something called Hadoop ecosystem actually. Okay, I'll just go into that also. I'll go into that particular topic also. What exactly the Hadoop ecosystem is? It's a collection of all the different products wherein which to achieve the solution to this big data will be using different technologies. Okay, that we call it as Hadoop ecosystem, right? So whenever you wanted to maintain or administer this particular clusters, we'll be working with what? Hadoop admin. Basically, there are two types of learning over here when you talk about big data. One is big data developers. As a developer, you'll be learning Hive, HBase, Pig, and also you'll be working with Scala and Spark. Okay, but when you talk about clusters, you'll be working. And when you're working with clusters, what you can do is you have to know how do you set up a cluster. Cluster in the sense like here, when you have this huge data available in the petabytes, the zettabytes of information, you should know where exactly this data has to be stored. Previously, we used to store it in a server, right? All the servers connected, and we used to use this one main server, and we used to collect the data and we used to connect to that particular server. No, now this is been not available here in big data. You have something called cluster management. Here, when you talk about a cluster management, you will be connected to the system, the same hardware and software architecture. That we call it as a cluster. Okay, interconnected all systems. Okay, so that we call it as a cluster. So when you wanted to maintain this cluster, how much RAM it should have, what is the capacity of that particular cluster, how much processing speed does it have, how do you identify? You have something called in the HDFS. You have something called in Hadoop. I told you the solution to handle this big data, we call them as Hadoop, right? So in the Hadoop, you have two main things. One is HDFS and MapReduce. What is this HDFS? Hadoop Distributed File System. Okay. When we talk about Hadoop Distributed File System, this is a way wherein which you'll be storing the information. You will be storing. How do you store the information, and how do you where exactly you'll be storing the information? You have something called replication factor. You have something called rack management system. Everything, rack awareness and everything. That we'll be discussing in HDFS. Okay. But once you store the information in the HDFS, you need to process that particular information which is available on HDFS, right? So when you want to process this information, we'll be using a concept called MapReduce concept. MapReduce concept. So when you're processing the data, you have to support with the RAM, CPU, memory and everything, right? So when you want to process that particular memory, you need to allocate the memory allocation also. So that has to be done by whom? The Hadoop administration person will be doing it. Okay. So you have two things. So as I told you, developer and the architect, admin part. Okay. Now then you can become a data analyst. That is, you have a different data collecting. As I told you, you have different data collecting from different areas, right? Through a website, okay, Through Amazon, you'll be collecting the information. From health insurance companies, you'll be collecting the data, and all this. So you want to analyze this particular data, whatever is been available to you, and then you want to make a relation between all this particular data which has been collected. So what are we trying to do it in data analysis? Analysis different types of data and relationships among different elements within a particular system. That you become a data analyst. And then, as I told you, developer. Developer is the what? You are going to write a programming part. How do you process this particular data? You write your applications. Okay? So that will be dealing with the big data. Fine? So what are you trying to do? So as I told you very, very clearly, now the big data is a very big transformation, transaction. So previously we used to work with all the traditional methodologies, working with Java, .NET, SAP, Oracle, all these things, okay, Informatica and all this. But now there is a transit. There is a transit. That is, there is a change from in the IT, from normal data to the big data, wherein which when you work with big data, you'll be working not only with the structured one, you'll also be working with unstructured data. Okay, so you have different career objects available over here. So you should be curious about this. See, when you go to the Facebook, I'll give you an example. So you post, to which place you have attended or something. You have visited a Taj Mahal. Okay, so once you have visited the Taj Mahal, you have posted your picture in where you have taken a picture from Taj Mahal. So you will be getting some likes, right? So how many people are liking you through that? Through that picture, and what are the comments you got it? So what is happening here? You are collecting the data, isn't it? You are collecting the data of your friends who are really interested that you are traveling and enjoying yourself, right? So what is happening? So how do you write such kind of an application? How do you actually write an application? How do you collect that particular information, and how do you write an application to get the number of likes, and how do you get the information of number of comments? So what is happening? Let's say now you are a developer, big data developer. You collected the information. Where are you storing this in? Do you know about how do you store this, all the information of likes, dislikes, comments and everything? Now what you wanted is, now let's say you are working in a company, and this company is, they wanted to start out with a device wherein which they wanted to start out with a website wherein which this company wanted to create a tourism site. Okay, as a big data developer, what you suggest is, you have already available data because you have gone through your Facebook information. You know some of your friends are interested in traveling and all that. So what you suggest as a big data analyst, now you become a data analyst. Now you suggest your business person or a CEO or something saying that you have, this is the data which I have collected. So this data can be used for the tourism website. Okay, so what are you trying to do? You're trying to use this data as a developer, and are also using the same data in different applications, right? So this is a very, very interesting and upcoming career in nowadays. Okay, so as an individual also, you feel very excited about writing the programs and also storing the information, and how do you process the data, and also how fast. I'll take a better example. See, nowadays you are able to see Twitter, okay, Twitter, and when you go for this Republic TV, you find all the tweets coming out on a particular political person, right? What is happening over here? So per second, there are thousands and thousands of comments coming out, right? So how are you able to manage that? So don't you feel that as a developer, I should know how should I create such kind of application where I catch up all these particular comments and scroll on the TV or on the laptop, the website, whatever I'm using it. So you should be very enthusiastic of working with this kind of technologies. Okay. So now these are the different careers we have within big data and Hadoop. What is it? One is big data developer, big data architect, data scientist, Hadoop administ, and data analyst. Okay, I hope it is clear. Are you clear with this? Do you have any doubts? I'll just move forward. Can you please kindly give me a chat message? So one of the other reasons is, why should you learn big data and Hadoop? We are learning big data and Hadoop for a better career, better salary, and big companies every big company is now into the big data. And you have better opportunities and big data and Hadoop is everywhere throughout the world, right? Is this clear? Why should we learn the big data and Hadoop? Understood? Yeah, if you can kindly give me that would be great. Any chat message. You have any doubts in this, or you wanted to ask me more apart from this? You can give me a chat message. Hello? Kindly give me a chat message. Okay, now we will be going into the data learning path, right? So what exactly is this particular learning? How do you learn them? When you know this, these are the different careers available, okay? So how do you choose that? So here, when you wanted to learn about the developer or the tester, big data learning path, you can just go for Python and Ruby, Hadoop ecosystem, NoSQL and Spark. Okay, wait, I'm doing it. So as a developer, whenever you wanted to learn, so what is that we are using? In a big data and Hadoop, we'll be using MapReduce, design patterns, Apache Spark and Scala, and also we'll be using with Cassandra. So this is a learning part. When you wanted to become a developer and a testing. When it comes to administration, we'll be teaching you about the Linux operating, because basically in the Hadoop ecosystem, what happens is we have all the Apache tools we'll be using, like HBase, Hive, Scala, Spark, Akka, Kafka. All these are all the part of Apache. So when I talk about Apache, it's totally on the platform of Linux operating system. Okay, so when it comes to the administration, and most of the operating system, whenever I wanted to process the data, which is built in the form of a Unix platform only. So here we'll be using what? Linux administration, and we will be going ahead with cluster management, and we'll be learning about cluster performance and virtualization. So first you have to learn about the administration part of what? Linux. So once you are thorough with the Linux commands, then you can go into the Hadoop administration. Okay. So you have any doubts in developer by testing one? So here when I talk about Java, Python and Ruby, these are all the programming languages. Okay. And Hadoop ecosystem, we'll talk about Hive, HBase, MapReduce programs, everything. And when I talk about NoSQL database, we'll be talking about what? SQL databases, like again we'll be talking about MongoDB and all this. And I talk about Spark. Spark is the latest technology. Here we'll be working with Hadoop ecosystem. It is being supported to Hadoop ecosystem. Basically written in Scala. When you guys have a background of functional programming, Java is into totally object-oriented programming. But when you talk about Scala, Scala is a combination of both object orientation as well as programming. Okay, functional programming. Functional programming means you might have learned in C. So you write all the simple functions and you call those particular functions. Call by name or call by reference. You will be doing it, right? So the Scala is such a wonderful language with a minimized coding. It gives you within a minimized coding, you can easily write your own programs. So that is done through Apache Spark and Scala. Okay. I'm sorry. Any language you can be used to develop? Yeah. You can use it to not only just Java. You can write with Java, Python, Ruby, and then also Spark. We have PySpark and Spark R also, because Spark can be written in Scala as well as Python and R also. You can use any one. That shouldn't be a problem. And Apache Cassandra is what? It is an open source database wherein which will be storing the unstructured and structured data. Okay, so this is where we'll be using big data and Hadoop. MapReduce design patterns we'll be using Spark and Scala, and also Apache Cassandra. This is about the developer and the tester part. And comes to the Linux administration, I just told you about administrator, right? You have Linux administration, and can you please, what is that? Sorry. Can you please again tell for Hadoop ecosystem? Okay, See, Hadoop ecosystem, see, I'll just show you an example here. One second. I don't know whether this is available or not. I'll show you a system. Certification courses. Right, this is about that. But before that, I'll just show you a one. One second. This is about a Spark and Hadoop ecosystem. I'll show you in a PPT wherein which you'll be working with Hadoop ecosystem, right? Right, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. You have all this. I mean, this is, you have versions in Hadoop 1.1 and 2.0. So I'll tell you about 2.0 question. Okay, this is about MapReduce here is talking about. So you can just have a look of Hadoop ecosystem. Right. I'll just show you and explain you. Right, this is the one. So look at this. Yeah, I hope this is one. So what is this Hadoop ecosystem is? You have the first layer here. You have two types of data. I told you when you talk about big data, it is a combination of structured data and unstructured data. So the structured data will be available in the RDBMS like Oracle and all. And unstructured you will be getting the data from the websites in the form of JSON files, and you will be getting the data in the form of CSV files and everything. Okay, so you have a component called scoop. Okay, we'll be writing the scoop statements to extract the data from the structured data and place it where on the HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system. And using export or import, what you can do is this unstructured data can also be retrieved from the websites and placed on where? On the HDFS. Okay, once the data is available on the HDFS, that is the Hadoop distributed file system, now we wanted to process it, right? So when you want to process this particular data, you have something called a technology called YARN. When you have something called YARN, the YARN we call it as what? Yet another resource negotiator. So this is basically used to how fastly you can process the data. Okay, we'll discuss about that. Okay, now you have something called HBase. Basically, the data, whatever you are working with HBase, what is happening? You wanted to work with structured and unstructured data, right? So when you have a relational database, in previously when you are working with a Java project, at least you are supposed to set a relation between 10 to 12 tables, right? Isn't it? You will be following a relational database management system. So let's say while maintaining the relation between these tables, if there is an error in any of the column and you wanted to add an additional column to a table, what will happen to the relation between all these 11 to 12 tables? You have to again rewrite the code and you have to establish a relation between, you have to change the table, right? You have to change the table and then you have to update all the relationships. But using HBase, it is called as what is happening? Java is not mandatory. It's not mandatory. Even though you are good at .NET or you should be good at the programming language, any programming language. At least you should be know about how to write a function. Have an idea about OOPS concept, that should be great. That's all. That's more than enough. So here in HBase we'll be working with NoSQL. We call it a structured and unstructured, and we try to manage without relations only. We wanted to maintain the data, and then we use this HBase. And you have something called Hive, where we will be using all the data warehouse system, and we'll be working with Pig Latin. Pig Latin is again another ecosystem of Hadoop, wherein which we'll be writing the processing of the data through scripts. Pig is like a Pig Latin is a script. You might have heard about JavaScript, VB script, and all this, right? So scripting is like interpreted language, line by line coding, right? Very easy, not just like Java, where you have to maintain and everything. Okay, so here you will be using Pig Latin. So, and then finally you have Apache Uzi, wherein which you'll be connecting between all these particular ecosystems. MapReduce now we are not using. Of course, you are absolutely correct. We have to use Java when we are writing MapReduce programs. But now, it was still last year as Scala and Spark have taken over. Now we are writing all the programming with Spark only. Very few people are working with MapReduce in Java. That's the reason I'm very confidently telling you that we do all Scala and Spark programming, which is in-memory process as well as not dependent on the programming language like Java. We will be using Scala as well as Python and R, which are much faster than a MapReduce programming. Okay, that is the latest. Fine. So this is the Apache Uzi, wherein which you can connect between all these particular Hadoop ecosystems. Understood? Is this clear, Hadoop ecosystem? Someone asked me. Right? Can I go forward? Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now coming back to our slide. So you have so much of, so you can do your certification also, right? What are the certification courses you have? You have Big Data Hadoop certification training, wherein which will be teaching you about Hadoop ecosystem tools. We'll be making you work with real-time projects, and you also have hands-on assignments. Okay? When you go to Hadoop administration certification training, you can go ahead with Hadoop architecture, cluster setup projects, hands-on assignments. So as I was telling you, now the MapReduce is being not used nowadays. We'll be working with Apache Spark. From Apache Spark certification training. Spark and Scala concepts will be taught to you. You will be working on real-time projects, and you have hands-on assignments also. And when you work with data analyst with R certification training. So I told you, Spark can also be written in using a language called R, right? So and this R is useful for data analysis, analytics, and also it will be used in data science, machine learning and data science whenever you're working with the machine learning. So we'll be teaching you about data analytics and R, data mining techniques and real-time projects. And you will be working with data science certification training, which we'll be learning about Hadoop, machine learning and R, data transformation tools and real-time projects. These are all the certification courses which we have. And what are the silent features which we'll be providing you are, you have live online classes, you have hands-on experience. You have 24/7 support. That is, you can mail whatever the query you have. You will then and there. Any assistant will give you the information and everything. What is that? After got experience in big data, which is the relevant course to upskill. See, you got experience in big data. So what are you can identify what are the ecosystems you have done. Have you done with everything? Hive, HBase, MapReduce programming, Pig, everything. Have you done with Scala and Spark also? If you have not done it, you can go ahead and upgrade yourself with the Scala and Spark, and you can do the certification CC175, CC175, where you have to work with the Scala and Spark. You can do your certification. Okay, so the certification is being given over here, right? So as a developer, what is that? I've just told you. A Big Data Hadoop certification trainer. Okay, so this certification adds a better to upgrade in your career. Okay. And then here we'll be supporting you with the real-time projects, and module-wise assignments will also be given. You can do. Yes, MongoDB. Yeah, it comes into the big data. You can learn it. Because actually when you are working with Kafka, see here when I talk about MongoDB, not only just big data, you can also work with data science also and machine learning also. We'll be using this MongoDB when you are really working with Kafka, because Kafka is just like what, whenever you wanted to transfer the information, okay, between two different systems, then we'll be using Kafka, and the data, whatever you want to retrieve, we can get it from Cassandra, Kafka, MongoDB, all this will be using. So this is where when we teaching Kafka, then you can go ahead with MongoDB. Okay, now. So when we really go into exploring the data, so facts about the global data. So within 5 years, there will be over 50 billion smart connected devices in the world, and 2.2 trillion bytes of data is being created every day, and 6.1 billion global smartphone users by 2020. Okay, so data is being generated every minute, as you know, through Instagrams, YouTubes, Reddit, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay, so this is where we'll be using the big data, and you know the introduction to big data, what exactly the big data is all about. It's about 5 V's. What is it? 5 V's: volume, velocity, variety, value, and veracity. Okay, so here when you have huge volume is growing day by day, as I've discussed just now, and you have variety of data, not just limited to one thing. That is, you have a JSON file, JavaScript object notation, you have audio files, video files, PNG files, log files you have, and you have different mails. So different kinds of data is being generated from various sources. And you have velocity, the speed at which you are processing the data. That is also more important, isn't it? And you are generating the data, that's fine. But how fast you are processing the data, even that is also important, isn't it? So, and then you have the value. Is this the correct value is being given to you when you are going for the big data, right? So that is the key, using the key comma value page will be checking out, and veracity. So mechanism to bring the correct meaning out of the data, that we will be talking about the value. And you have something called veracity. So uncertainty and inconsistency in the data will be identified. So these are the different big V's of big data. And here, what are the different companies which are leveraging the big data? So the best companies are Hadoop, Alibaba.com, eBay, Twitter, Yahoo, Facebook. Not only these companies, many companies, each and every company is now using big data. Okay, so the big data technologies are in demand. So I suggest everybody to go ahead with this certification. And in data, you have, as we have discussed, so you can go ahead with Hadoop Developer, Hadoop Admin, Apache Spark, Apache Kafka, MongoDB, Cassandra, Data Science, and Informatica, and Talent, right? So these are all the different technologies in demand. Fine. So you have any other information, you can just go through and visit this particular Magna Infotech Career Services. Okay. You have a phone number available and the website name, mics.magna.in. You can just find our courses and the certification courses also here. You can get all the information. Okay. So I hope I have cleared all your doubts and you have understood what exactly the big data and how does it play major role nowadays in the IT. And also we find out the solution for big data through Hadoop, and the latest technology what we'll be working with here is like through Scala and Spark, okay, and through Kafka. I hope I've cleared all your doubts. Is this clear now? If you have any other questions, you can ask me. Any other doubts you got it? So it's not mandatory that you should know Java, but you should have good real programming language. That should be great. It will be really supporting you. Anyway, we'll be teaching you. Do this, the Scala and Spark also will be working with MapReduce programs. Do you have any doubt? Somebody was asking me a question. Is this clear? Okay.
I think
Yeah.
we should conclude again.
Sorry? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can conclude.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope I've cleared you all the, how do you find the career solutions and what is the salary expectation and all you have, right? Through this seminar.
Okay, Asher, you can just conclude.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bhuvana, and all of your participation in this session. Shortly, you will
Thank you.
receive a feedback survey. Please share your insights on today's session as it will helpful for shape future events we conduct such as this. We will also send you a link to the recording of this event so that you may share it within your social networks and in future. On behalf of Magna Infotech Care Services, a heartily welcome thank you for joining us today. We hope you find this information and dialogue valuable in enhancing your understanding on big data. If you are interested to know more on the topic, do check out our Big Data and Hadoop courses of the MSCS portal. Now signing off and wishing you a wonderful week. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you so much.